Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a pretty wild future scenario, one where AI gets so powerful it forces us, as a species, to completely rethink what it means to work, to survive, and really to be human.
So, here's the core paradox we're walking into. On one hand, you've got AI and robots creating this incredible age of abundance. Goods and services can be made with almost no human labor. Awesome, right? But in the system we have now, that creates a massive crisis. You get deflation and, more importantly, mass permanent unemployment. And that pushes society right to the brink.
So you're standing on this cliff's edge. The old rules just don't work anymore. The whole system is starting to fracture. This forces us to ask a really fundamental question. How do we, as a civilization, pull back from the edge and actually build something new?
And let's be clear, this isn't just about some new tech. This is a civilizational moment. We are at a huge crossroads, and the choices we make, in the pretty near future, are going to define society for generations.
For centuries, our society has run on a really simple contract. You work to earn a living, to survive. But AI just shatters that. When a giant chunk of the population becomes what some are calling permanently unemployed, that whole system of getting money through wages, it just breaks. It becomes blindingly obvious that we're going to need a new system.
So, to avoid a total collapse, society has to do something really radical. It has to rescue itself. And that means building a brand new social contract, one that's designed for a world where human labor just isn't the main engine of the economy anymore.
The idea that gets talked about the most here is Universal Basic Income, or UBI. And the concept is pretty straightforward. The government gives every single citizen a regular payment. No strings attached, just enough to cover the absolute basics: food, shelter. It's a way to officially cut the link between having a job and being able to survive. And look, it sounds radical, I know, but in a world of automated abundance, it might just be the most logical way forward.
Of course, an idea this huge isn't easy. It comes with some massive challenges. The whole debate really boils down to three big hurdles that we'd have to clear to make UBI a reality.
First up, the big one, the funding problem. Where does all this money come from? Well, there are a few leading ideas. You've got a robot tax on the companies that are raking it in from automation. You could have new taxes on scarce things like land or carbon. And then there's the really bold idea of using what's called modern monetary theory, where the central bank literally just creates the money. As you can imagine, each one of those options is politically explosive.
And that funding question leads us right into the core political fight. It's a fork in the road. On one path, the new wealthy elite, the ones who own the AI and the robots, agree to redistribute that wealth for the good of everybody. You get a sort of shared utopia. But on the other path, they use their power to block it. And that leads you to a cyberpunk dystopia with just unimaginable inequality. That choice is the whole ballgame.
Okay, but let's just say we manage to navigate that crisis. Let's say we make the wise choice. What does life even look like on the other side? Well, we enter a totally new phase, a complete paradigm shift in what our economy is even for.
And the core idea here is really powerful. For all of human history, economics has been about managing scarce stuff. Not enough food, not enough resources. But when AI can make almost anything for free, that kind of scarcity, it kind of fades away. It doesn't totally disappear, though. No, it just shifts. It moves into new, more human areas.
So what's the new valuable stuff? Well, for one, physical space. A beautiful view, a quiet piece of land, suddenly priceless. Second, and this is maybe the most important, authentic human experience. Think a live concert, a handmade piece of art, real connection with another person. Third, in a world just flooded with information, your actual undivided attention becomes incredibly valuable. And finally, some things are always scarce by definition, like power and social status.
This shift would change, well, everything. When working just to survive isn't the center of our lives anymore, society's focus can pivot. The creator economy and the experience economy, those become the main event. We'd find value not in mass-produced objects, but in art, in stories, in community, and in the richness of just interacting with each other.
Now, this whole path, it's not a sure thing, not at all. The speed of the journey and where we ultimately end up depends on three huge, uncertain variables.
You could think of them like the three big control knobs of our fate.
Knob number one is the speed of technology itself. AI is moving way faster than most people think. The day a humanoid robot costs the same as a car, the impact on society is going to be a tsunami. Knob two is the physical limits of energy and raw materials. It becomes a race. Can AI help us unlock new energy sources like fusion faster than it burns through our old ones? But it's that third knob that is by far the most critical.
And this right here is where the real test lies. See, you can probably find technical solutions to technology and resource problems, but politics, culture, getting billions of people to agree on a new way to live, that is the ultimate test. It's what some call a great filter, a challenge so huge it decides if a civilization makes it or not. Do we actually have the collective wisdom to reinvent our society, our values, our whole definition of a good life?
Which brings us to the final and most important takeaway. This entire journey we've just mapped out, from crisis to a new civilization, it's not a prediction. It is not set in stone.
At the end of the day, technology might set the speed for how fast we get to this future, but it doesn't choose the destination. We do. The path to that shared utopia or that cyberpunk dystopia is being paved by the choices we are all making right now. So the real question isn't what will the future be, it's which future will we have the courage to build together.